Hello, everyone. So welcome to this information session on about the Nuclear Innovation Bootcamp. So today we'll just present you a little bit about the background of why the bootcamp is important, and also about the past editions of the bootcamp and the objective, and a bit on the future of this event. So I'm Adrien Couet, Associate Professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And my colleague Weaver is here from Nuclear Innovation Alliance. So let's first take a look at what the future of energy looks like in the US. So clearly, if you look at every single energy agency out there, they all predict that on the horizon of 2050, about half of our production of energy will come from fossil fuel. And that would, of course, generate CO2 in the atmosphere. And as you probably know, that is one of the main reasons for climate change, and we have to fight that as much as we can. Especially considering, on the next slide, when you look at the future of emission of CO2 in the atmosphere, or the CO2 in the atmosphere as a function of time for the next century, to arrive at the goal of less than 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature across the globe. If you want to arrive at that goal, this is what the CO2 in the atmosphere needs to look like. And clearly, this is not compatible with the previous slide that you just showed that does not predict a decrease of CO2 emitting energy sources. So that is a big discrepancy between those two plots that we have to somehow reconcile. So if you go on the next slide, what I think is important here to point out is how to reconcile the two. Is we believe nuclear energy has a big role to play on that. So the first aspect is the electricity consumption. For instance, here in France, that you can take a look, it was a few days ago on a Sunday, 5 p.m. local time. It's of course winter, so around 5 p.m. it's pretty dark in there. But in France, as you probably know, nuclear is is the main energy sources for electricity production. And so you can see that most of the nuclear energy is being used, most of the capacity. The rest that is being used is wind, solar, hydro, and a bit of natural gas. But clearly, that's a very, very low carbon intensity. And on the other end, on the next slide, if you look at Germany, so Germany has a bit of an issue here, because, as you know, they phased out nuclear, so they have very, very little capacity in nuclear. They use 100% of it, which is kind of interesting, right? So they use as much as they can what they have available, because at 5 p.m. on a Sunday, it's pretty dark, so the solar is, almost 0% of the capacity is being used. The wind about 50%, again, because it's probably not windy everywhere in Germany at that time. And then one has to rely on coal and natural gas by relatively large amount comparatively to the renewable or non-emitting CO2 type of energy sources. So the carbon intensity is 4 or 5 times higher than France, and nuclear is a big reason for that. So if you look a little bit about what the US are doing in the nuclear front to kind of be able to meet those climate goals. If we go back to 2016, which is the first year the bootcamp was done, that's where really there was a big push for nuclear innovation in the US, with, for instance, Third Way, which is a non-governmental organization out of DC. They hosted the Advanced Nuclear Summit, where a lot of people from the industry, from universities, from policy, from the Hill came to learn and talk about advanced nuclear. So it was kind of the first of a kind. And that's also where GAIN, the gateway for innovation in nuclear, accelerated innovation in nuclear, started, where basically the national labs were opening their doors to private industries to be able to test some of their concepts. So it was quite interesting also new DOE use of public funding. So in 2017, big earthquake a little bit in the nuclear industry, because Westinghouse goes bankrupt. So in the US, it's fairly typical sometimes for big industry to go bankrupt. I mean, all the airline industry went bankrupt. Many of the car manufacturer went bankrupt at some point. So it's not like this is, that sounds terrible, but it's not that terrible. But nevertheless, it shows that the industry was not going very well. And everyone knew that the large-scale, nuclear facility were having a hard time to be built, such as the EP1000 or the EPR in Europe. So NuScale, for instance, the small modular reactors, they came forward with their new concept of 50 to 100 megawatt electric reactors, and they submitted a license application to the NRC. The ARPA-E, the Advanced Research Project Agency Energy, which is kind of the head of the DOE to kind of fund innovation in energy out there, started to fund nuclear. So it's a big deal because it's a big pot of money that suddenly became available for nuclear innovators. And another new company that became bigger and bigger every year is now, so it's Keros Power, was created in 2017. And they're pursuing the molten salt coolant-based design, which is called FHR. And they've been growing since then. So in 2018, there was this IPCC report, which is extremely important for us because really it became available across the globe to the public that climate is changing. And if we don't do anything, it's going to change multiple degrees of increase in temperature over the end of this century if we don't do anything about it. And so that's really when bipartisan, I would say, and multi-national awareness arose thanks to that report. So then there has been some decision up in the hill again in the US with the Nuclear Energy Innovation Capabilities Act, the NICA, that passed. And also there was a report on the Union of Concerned Scientists on the nuclear license extension that was also quite interesting. So basically, that's where a lot of the people that didn't talk about nuclear started to talk about it because they realized that without it, we will not reach our climate goals. So that was 2018. 2019, another bill passed on the Hill called the Nuclear Energy Innovation and Modernization Act, the NEMA, which again was favoring advanced nuclear to bring money on the table for that kind of technology. The NRIC, which is this Nuclear Reactor Innovation Center, which is based at the Idaho National Lab, was created at that point, which again was another entity that was kind of help organize a little bit the private-public partnership towards advanced nuclear. And another big player came on the table, which is the Defense Department in the US, the DoD. They initiated a micro reactor program where, of course, for military reasons, but many of the civil application of nuclear came from the military. And seeing the DoD that is interested in this is really a big player because then it means more money becomes available and to see some of those designs through, and then they could become available for the public after that. So those were also good news. In 2020, another big hit on the nuclear industry was this Ohio. I know in the state of Ohio, there was bribery around the price of electricity produced by nuclear. And so there was a whole big news impact that kind of didn't look very good for nuclear. But it's important to point it out nevertheless. The NuScale received the NRC design approval, which is kind of the first step, one of the first steps to get towards NRC license acceptance. And so NuScale is, keep growing and keep going towards commercialization every day. And then Oklo, one of the advanced nuclear company that is developing microreactors based on liquid metal, have submitted their first reactor license application in 2020. Unfortunately, in 2021, that license application got denied. and they're back on the table to kind of redo their new application most likely. But it was somewhat expected that the first to go there will face some obstacles, and hopefully they will keep knocking at the door, and they will keep pushing, and they will keep improving their safety cases, and at the end of the day, one of the company will actually make it happen. And especially when you look at that new Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program, the ARDP, which was announced last year, which gave a big pot of money to TerraPower and to X Energy to deploy two of their, so one reactor each. One is based on liquid sodium, the other one is based on high temperature gas. And those are the large-scale public-private partnership that we are really looking forward in the nuclear industry, because we're talking about billion-dollar scale type of partnership. Those kind of partnerships that can potentially lead to commercialization. So the future is what looks like, this chart was developed in 2015 also by Third Way. And we're kind of on track, to go from light water reactor to small modular to advanced reactor until the end of this decade in early 2030s. So this is really what we're pushing. And of course, we need workforce to get there. We need to train new engineers, but not only engineers, we need to train new innovators, because there's a lot of space for design, there's a lot of space for community acceptance, there's a lot of space for education around nuclear. So we really want to train that new workforce to this new development of nuclear. So this is where you can see, for instance, the US is a very good soil for innovation in nuclear. You see a lot of companies out there. Each one of the data points show one reactor design being developed at a specific location. And you see tons of them, because clearly today innovators are looking into nuclear as a way to get to their needs and to their goals. And so it's quite interesting. It's quite encouraging to see so many people invested in nuclear innovation. So to kind of, as I mentioned, help educating the workforce towards advanced nuclear, Professor Rachel Slabo, that was at Berkeley until not too long ago, created the first nuclear innovation bootcamp in 2016. So she created that from scratch, recognizing the need for that new workforce, and that has had a huge success. So then there was a new one in 2017, which kind of included many more universities, such as Berkeley, UW-Madison, Virginia Commonwealth University, MIT, and Texas A&M. In 2018, the group kind of got reduced a little bit, but a major player came to play, which is the Nuclear Innovation Alliance, the NIA, which is still a major partner of the Nuclear Innovation Bootcamp, and actually one of the organizer of the Nuclear Innovation Bootcamp nowadays. And then in 2019, we organized this bootcamp in Paris, because the objective is really to export the concept to other countries. And it was a big success with a local association, such as the SFEN, which is kind of the young nuclear engineer society in France. And the Nuclear Energy Agency helped us as well to put that on the global scale a little bit over there. Of course, since 2019, there has been some change of plans because of COVID, like everyone, and River is going to explain that in a little more detail.
Thank you, Adrien. So as Adrien explained, he and I are both organizers for the boot camp. I was a participant in 2018, and I've been helping to do the planning since then. And yeah, so the last couple of years have been tricky for everybody, us included, trying to figure out how to deliver our program in a virtual format. And so I'll explain a little bit about how the bootcamp works, and then kind of what we've done in the past, and then our plans for the near future. So the bootcamp has a few main objectives. One of them is to create an environment where the participants can meet, develop connections, interact, spark innovative ideas, and build for the future. So it's really an important kind of community building exercise. In addition to that, we want to give bright minds, or the bright minds that we have in our participants, all the tools to advocate for nuclear energy in the future. And this means interacting with their friends, family, and professional environment to share information about climate change and the place of nuclear energy in the energy mix. So we don't only just want them to build a community, but also be able to share what they're learning and become advocates for the space wherever it is they work or the communities they live in. And then finally, we want to enable the participants to become actors of change in their own professional entities and implement innovative and efficient ideas in their organizations. So the nuclear industry has been around for a long time, and it's important for us to be able to, if we want to be building new technologies and deploying them in new places, we need to be approaching the problem in new kind of constructive ways. And so this requires a whole different tool set, and this is really kind of the type of mindset that we're trying to get our participants on board with for their careers and the ways that they impact the organizations where they work. So the format, we do it every summer. We do it like late July, early August. We have around 25 to 30 participants. These are younger folks, kind of students and early career professionals. And during the 2 weeks, they take classes. They have two main goals, right? They take classes and they produce group projects. And so the courses that they take are focused on a whole range of topics that we have listed here. So some of them are kind of 21st century energy challenges. We have advanced nuclear technology, product development and marketing, government and NGO support, marketing, all different types of things that are meant to really teach the whole body of skills needed to get a product to market, whether it's nuclear or anything else. And so we do this. We have participants. We also have presenters who come from nuclear and other industries, and we have mentors who help guide the participants throughout their time. So the lectures, by professionals are really helpful. We get people both from in industry and outside to explain different aspects of innovation, right? So maybe it's about how do they work with governments, or how did they go through regulatory, or how do they design products and change them rapidly? And so we try and figure out where the lessons are that cross over with other industries and ours. These are a few pictures from 2019 when we were in Paris. And then what they do with these skills, basically, as I mentioned earlier, is to build team ventures. So they group up and they come up with ideas or basically solutions to a lot of problems that we have in the industry, or maybe other industries have that we think nuclear can address. And the teams come up with ideas and basically develop them during the 2 weeks, informed by the classes they're taking, and then pitch them or present them on the last day to a panel of judges. And so we've had the opportunity, we have about 100 alumni now over 4 years, and we had the opportunity to start surveying them to see kind of what the impact has been. And so far, it's been really positive to see everyone's experience, right? I mean, in this case, we were trying to make sure, these design projects that we spend half our time doing are they worthwhile? Do they feel beneficial to your career? And we found a lot of our participants come from nuclear engineering programs or engineering programs where maybe they have projects, but nothing that feels as kind of relevant to industry as the ones that the boot camp has provided them with. So that's been really validating to see. It's also a useful skill, or it's also a useful skill building experience, because by actually doing these types of projects and building ventures, you kind of have to come face to face with the challenges of building a company. And so participants are, they feel that by going through this process, they have a better understanding of how innovation works, because it's kind of a vague concept. Like, what is innovation? How do you do innovation? And the projects have proven to be a pretty useful exercise for teaching that. And then finally, there's been kind of, there have been projects and companies actually that have been built out of the boot camp, right? So we have, about 20 or so % of our participants actually go on to start up new companies or organizations. And so of those, they say, about 10% of those were continuations of what took place in the boot camp. And so it's exciting to see participants come up with good ideas, and really exciting to see them take those ideas afterwards and try and get, real funding. We have some participants who have started actual companies, some who are in incubators. So they're at kind of a wide range of phases for getting products to market. And it's cool to see it all beginning at the bootcamp. And then, as I mentioned, we have participants who are engaged in the activities. We have presenters who teach them, and then kind of the people who help fill in the gaps and provide expertise where there isn't, where there might be missing or could be useful, are our mentors. And so these are a group of people who participate either kind of remotely or in person, and they get paired up with the groups. They come from all different backgrounds as well, specifically in nuclear, and they help the participants come up with or kind of refine their ideas or ask them important questions for how they shape them and build their ventures. So these have also been very useful to our participants, right? We said, you know, about 64% of them found the experience really helpful. And, you know, about a quarter of them stay in contact with them afterwards. So it's exciting to see this resource actually kind of be like a long-term resource, not just something that just exists during the 2 weeks of the workshop. And then at the end, as I mentioned, we do a pitch practice, so, or a competition rather. So on the Friday, the second week, each team gets up on stage, they pitch their projects, and they get voted on, and a winner is selected by a panel of judges. So again, these are all from Paris, and our different teams giving kind of brief pitches, and the judges looking very inquisitive. And what was exciting in 2019 is that the winners actually got a prize. So we sent them or a few of the team to Sydney, Australia to participate in the International Youth Nuclear Congress and compete there. The team actually ended up winning one of the categories. So this is something we want to continue doing in the future, is figuring out how do we not just support our winners, or not only do we create a competition, but how do we support our winners after they've completed the program, so they can be, you know, continue getting more resources as they develop their ideas more. So like an example of like some of the projects that have been in the past, this is all from 2019 as well, is we had the winning team was Glacier melt mitigation strategies. So they were thinking of ways to use small modular reactors to create ice in the North Pole. So that was kind of a cool project. We had Sub-R. They were focused on disaster relief by using SMRs on submarines, fuel cycle technologies, mobile app gaming, agriculture, concrete. So all different types of applications from our teams. We also are really focused on making sure that we're kind of increasing the diversity in the space, right? We've had our last cohort came from a bunch of different countries. We had 11 countries represented, 4 continents. An increasing mixture of men and women. We're trying to balance that out some more, but this is an ongoing project and something that we're dedicated to year over year. And as you can see here from the survey, we had a bunch of participants at the end who are interested in continuing their projects. So that was an excellent class. We're looking forward to the future classes. So we had a lot of good positive feedback. I like the best 2 weeks, first time I loved sleepless nights. So again, a lot of this is going to be published in our impact report, which we'll be publishing on our website in the coming months. And so you'll be able to read some more through that in Toru, I'm sure. I can share with him the link and he can distribute it. So you can find more information like these quotes and kind of the feedback that we've gotten from participants and highlight some specific alumni. So in 2020, with the beginning of COVID, we had to figure out how to have an online program, right? So we did an alumni summit, basically, where we brought together our 100 alumni and we thought about, all right, what has the boot camp done effectively in the past? What should we be doing going forward? And it was a really exciting opportunity to bring together all of our, our network, but also bring in some new people. So we had some exciting companies who presented or joined the discussion. We had some environmental groups and some climate groups that you don't necessarily or traditionally think would be supportive or involved in these types of conversations. So we were able to build some new bridges to groups that maybe were not necessarily supportive of nuclear, but willing to have these conversations. So that was an exciting opportunity for us. And then in 2021, we had to do another virtual event, but this time we did it in a public facing structure. So we had 3 main panels, we had a couple of side events, and we had some key speakers who came in, and we made the webinar public so anyone could attend. And that was an exciting opportunity just to kind of show off who is in our network and the type of people that we like to have represent the bootcamp. So this year we're excited because we're going to be having the boot camp. We're planning, to get back to being in person for the first time since 2019. We're going to be in Madison, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin, where Adrien is a professor. We'll be there for the first 2 weeks of August, from 1st to 12th. And if there are any people in the audience who are interested in applying, you can go to our website, nuclearinnovationbootcamp.org, and we're going to have applications live soon. So, going beyond this year, we want to keep trying to expand our network, right? We want to figure out how we can bring in more diversity into our network, not just in terms of, background or ethnicity, but also in terms of disciplines, right? We don't just want nuclear engineers. We want other types of engineers. We want other types of professions, right? So maybe business schools and architects, humanities, there's a whole range of people who we really need in the sector. And so we're trying to think about how the boot camp can help bring in more people. And these are, again, just some of our sponsors from the first 4 years. We were in Berkeley from 2016 to 2018, and then Paris in 2019. And we've had a lot of really positive industry support over those years. And it's been nice to be able to engage, and have the support of these companies. So, we know that we're kind of doing work that feels impactful. So this is kind of who supports us, and hopefully who will be in the near future as well. And then we're also trying to find more locations, right? So this year we have the event in Wisconsin, but we're looking for more places to host the event. And Japan is certainly on our short list, and we would love to work with you all on figuring out how to get the boot camp over to your neighborhood. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much, Toru, for the time. And we look forward to staying in touch with everyone.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.